Hi there, and welcome to episode 27 in my series 100 Casts, in which I shoutcast over 100 games of League of Legends sent in to me by fans and friends. If you'd like your replay to be featured on the channel, check the description. You can figure out how to do that down there. Anyways, I'll see you at the end of the video. Hope you stick around. Alright, let's get into this replay then. This replay, by the way, was sent in to me by the Zed on Blue Team, who's going by BOSS Cervap in this game, but he usually goes by BOSS Achilles, and he has his own YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description. His YouTube channel is called LOL How To, and he makes funny videos and montages, and he's very good at making them, so I'd suggest you give it a check out. Anyways, moving on to the game and moving on to the matchups. Let's start with the bottom lane, as I usually like to do, and starting there specifically this match because it's fairly interesting, at least on purple team. Graves is, albeit an uncommon, but at least in the meta, champion as far as AD carries go, but Master Yi is usually not taking support. This is usually due to the fact that he has no crowd control and is fairly squishy and so cannot be a face tank either. However, this Master Yi choosing to ignore the meta, choosing to break the meta right in half, is going to be bringing Master Yi down into the bottom lane as a support, so that'll certainly be interesting to watch this match. The matchup he'll be going up against is a Kog'Maw and a Thresh. Thresh and Kog'Maw, both far more on-meta champions for the bot lane, is a very high damage duo with a very long-range catch potential on that Thresh hook and long-range poke potential on Kog'Maw's W. Moving on to some of the other matchups, we have a Zilean in the mid lane, who's always a favorite pick of mine. I absolutely love Zilean as a champion. I actually have a video of him on my channel if you want to check that out. I run another series called Why You Should Play, in which I go over off-meta or undervalued champions and builds and tell you why they're actually fun or good or any combination of fun and good, and you should give them a try. So go check that out if you feel the will to do so. And he's going to be going up against the Zed on Blue Team. Now that's a matchup that I actually think favors Zilean pretty heavily. He has the range advantage, and he's also very good at fighting assassins post-6, because he's able to revive and come back and keep fighting them, whereas most champions only get to die once, whereas Zilean can do it twice. The sound appears to be a little bit off in this game. I might just go ahead and get rid of the League sound effects. So if there aren't any League sound effects playing, that's because they were off in the recording, and low replay seems to be buggy and doing that to me every once in a while. So I'm sorry about that. And it's actually Master Yi in the mid lane. And that is a Zilean support, which I probably should have seen coming. I don't know why I didn't. I just assumed the Zilean was going to be mid lane because that's where I've been seeing him played most often recently. I apologize for that. I hyped you all up for the Master Yi support for nothing, and now we just get to see Zilean support down in the bottom lane. Not that there's anything wrong with Zilean support. Quite a fun champ, lots of good harass, and long range. Anyways, enough Zilean gushing. Let's move on to this fight going on in the bottom lane, where Graves is dashing in onto Kog'Maw and doing a good amount of trade onto him. Graves looking to go for the all-in sort of trades, whereas Kog'Maw is looking to go for more ranged harass and poke, since he certainly has the range advantage on Graves. However, Graves is very, very good at all-in trades, is outdone by virtually no other AD carry in that regard. He has tons and tons of instantaneous burst, and has the ability to survive an all-in trade much better than his opponents do, mainly because of his passive True Grit. As in the mid lane, we see Master Yi going in on the Zed here. Zed being forced to flash away as he ignites Master Yi. Lee Sin has shown up. Is he going to be able to get this kill? I don't think he's going to be able to, since he got exhausted as he went under the turret. He does escape from the turret's range and does not go down, and that leaves Zed and Master Yi both quite low in the mid lane. Down in bottom, some good harass coming out from the Zilean onto the enemy bottom lane, and actually, Graves has been pushing up this whole time with repeated uses of buckshots, and now has the Kog'Maw and Thresh underneath their tower, as we see Warwick coming up to the top lane, going for that gank at level 3, going after the Renekton. However, Renekton is fairly mobile, and Warwick is not, so he only takes about half of his health bar before simply being forced to walk away. Actually, he sticks around for a little bit longer, giving some more pressure to that Maokai, as we see Lee Sin again ganking in the mid lane, going under the tower again, but Master Yi uses Meditate at a fairly opportune time and takes very little damage from the secondary activation of Sonic Wave. Resonating Strike is what that's called, by the way. And so he manages to survive yet another gank from the Lee Sin, who came mid. And while I have a bit of peace and quiet here, I'd like to talk about the top lane, which is where the camera currently is. It's a Maokai versus a Renekton. Renekton, the old and well-trusted top laner, and Maokai, the new guy to the scene, who just recently got buffed and is coming up top with Teleport, whereas Renekton is also choosing to go Teleport. So both of them going for that sort of map presence sort of summoner rather than the lane presence one in the form of Ignite. Since they're both fairly tanky, bruiserish champions and not really looking to all-in one another and get kills, but rather looking to simply farm up as much as they can and then be useful in late-game teamfights, as we see the Thresh going in onto a very nice hook on the Graves, pulling him back under tower with Flay. All the summoners being burned there from blue team bottom side as Heal and Flash are burned from the Graves. Graves does manage to escape, but his summoners are down as we see Zilean running in, tossing a bomb onto Kog'Maw and doing quite a bit of damage. He's down very low now. One more buckshot or a time bomb from Zilean, either one will bring him down to this point. I don't quite agree with the fact that he's sticking around in lane. This is very brave of him. He really wants that farm under the tower. As now Zed and Master Yi are going at it once again. They trade a little bit. The Master Yi coming out behind on that trade, as Zed does have a bit more burst in an all-in situation. In a sustained fight, Master Yi's auto attacks will pile up over time and do some more damage than the Zed can, I think. But Zed is very good at bursting someone down in a short situation, as in the top lane, Maokai and Renekton are going at it. Maokai actually, I would say, has the disadvantage in this lane, especially, at least in the early game, because Renekton does not have the burden of having to spend mana to use his abilities. And while they both have decent sustain, Maokai with his passive and Renekton with his Q, Cole the Meek, the Renekton is going to be able to cast his spells much more often than the Maokai is going to be able to, and always essentially going to be able to duel his opponent, whereas Maokai will eventually run out of dueling potential when he runs out of mana. Whew. Got a moment to talk here about some of the builds as they're starting to formulate. The Warwick choosing to go for that Feral Flare build, as we see, speaking of Warwick, the Lee Sin and Warwick are going at it in the jungle. Lee Sin landing Sonic Wave, then Resonating Strike, and the Warwick getting ulted by the Zed. The Death Mark is on him, but I don't think there's going to be enough damage, as Master Yi has now found the Lee Sin low on health. He's going to pick up First Blood. Ignite is burning on him, though. He goes into Meditate to try and prevent some of the damage, but it's not going to be enough. Now Zed in a 1v1 with the Warwick, going to be chasing after him into the jungle. Warwick gets the speed buff, though, as Zed drops fairly low. He does land the last auto attack, swapping forward with his clone Shadow Friend and getting up close enough to the Warwick to finish off that kill. And that is a double kill going over to Zed and First Blood going over to Master Yi. Both mid laners getting a decent chunk of gold there, but I'm going to have to say that the blue team Zed certainly came ahead of the purple team Master Yi. He's also ahead in terms of CS. Looking down at the scoreboard, he's up by 20 CS in that mid lane, so Zed certainly doing very well for himself. Actually has the highest creep score in the game currently, though Renekton is only one behind up in the top lane, so it's not that huge of a lead that he has. Though, to be fair, Renekton is on his team, so that's not something he's going to be unhappy about. Lots of burst landing on a Kog'Maw there as a time bomb explodes right when he gets hit by the edge of the buckshot from Graves. He goes down below half health there, as the Lee Sin going to be doing his red buff. It just respawned, and he's picking that up in a timely manner. Sorry about the ping there, if you heard that. A friend messaged me on Facebook, and so that wasn't your Facebook, unless you happened to be watching this video and happened to have your Facebook ping at exactly the same moment, which I doubt could have happened, but hey, maybe. That would be really cool. You should definitely leave a comment and tell me that if that happened. Anyways, down in bottom lane, Kog'Maw still low on health, and the enemy bot lane has now hit 6 before Thresh and Kog'Maw have managed to. They don't really want to go for this tower dive here, though, just throwing out some more poke with those time bombs from Zilean, who is putting them down onto Kog'Maw, seemingly on cooldown, and they do go for the tower dive as the Kog'Maw gets killed. As the Kog'Maw gets killed by the Graves, going into the tower and using Buckshot and his ult collateral damage to do a huge burst of damage. And then Zilean's ult saves his life, as Thresh did manage to hook him when he dove under the tower, but then he flayed him back as Zilean ulted him. And so he managed to come back to life because Zilean was timely with his ultimate. Timely. And thus, the Kog'Maw is dead and the Graves is alive. Lee Sin chasing after Warwick into his jungle. Zed joining him and using the death mark after swapping over the wall with his shadow. Just a simple little 1-2 kill there on that Warwick. He goes down. Lee Sin picking up that kill and going 1-1-1, having that nice 1-1 score now coming out of the jungle as Maokai going in onto Renekton, looking to get the kill here. Probably Renekton forced to pop his ult just for that extra HP to stay alive. Maokai has got a catalyst, and so he's going to be able to regen mana and come out without... and continue to sustain up through this lane in terms of mana and health now, which will be certainly nice for him as he's going in again onto Renekton, just constantly beating him in the face with tree limbs, bringing him quite low as we see a one-on-one duel going on between Graves and Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw actually winning out that duel, despite the fact that Graves is ahead by a kill. The Kog'Maw just has a little bit more burst damage right now, and so is able to bring him down, or sorry, I mean sustain damage, not burst. Graves is the burst carry, he's the sustain damage carry. And so in the one-on-one duel, he's able to bring him down, nearly hitting the hook there from Thresh, as Lee Sin is once again in mid lane, forcing the Master Yi to ghost away up into his jungle to avoid being ganked and possibly killed. Zilean has shown up again down in bottom lane, throwing out those time bombs onto Kog'Maw, though since he's not building a pure AP build, he has the Spell Thieves Edge, and it looks like he's going for a Hunting Guise here, but since he's out of the support role and thus doesn't have as much money as perhaps he would like to build a pure AP build, his bombs are beginning to fall off a little bit and not doing quite as high amounts of damage as they were early on in the game. Maokai going in onto Renekton, he's out of mana though, so he's not able to Arcane Smash and pull him back. And Renekton is going to be able to escape again. He's gone for a Spectre's Cowl, this Renekton has, and so he's able to survive those one-on-one duels very effectively. He goes down pretty low, but he's never able to really be finished off by the enemy Maokai, since he has so much magic resistance from that Spectre's Cowl that he's gotten early. As we see Master Yi going in onto the Zed here, he's about to kill him off, but the Zed nicely times his Deathmark ulti to avoid some of the damage with that short amount of untargetability, that's not a word, but short amount of invulnerability that Zed's ulti does give you during its cast. So he manages to survive there, very nicely timed ult coming out of the Zed to save his life. And Graves and Zilean are still pushing into the tower down in bottom lane. They've done a very good job of doing that. The Graves has racked up a 30 CS lead for himself just because he's been pushing under the tower so often, as in the middle lane, the Lee Sin and the Master Yi are going at it. Master Yi brought quite low by the Dragon's Rage from Lee Sin, but he got kicked away, and now Warwick has shown up and is going to be chasing off the Lee Sin. Ults onto him, actually. Infinite Duress going off there. He goes down to the Hungering Strike and another auto attack as Zed is now chasing onto Warwick. I don't know if he can finish off that kill. The Warwick might be able to get into his tower in time. The Warwick is able to escape, and bottom lane has roamed up here. Zed might be in some trouble. Graves dashes forward with the quick draw, and then the Zilean gets in range to slow down the Zed, but the Zed thankfully does have a shadow to swap to with his W and manages to get back under his tower, just taking some harass, but not actually going down. Maokai still interminably low on mana, never really able to finish off the Renekton up in top lane, just keeps on bringing him low, and then the fact that he's nearly out of mana, as well as the fact that Renekton has some sustain, as we see Maokai going in under the tower, lands Arcane Strike, but doesn't quite have enough damage to bring him down, and so he takes some tower aggro. Now he's trying to run away. Burned Flash, as Renekton ulted just in time to save his own life there in that tower dive, getting the extra health and surviving. Turning around and nearly getting the kill himself, actually, forcing the Maokai to flash away. And now he's pushing under the tower. The tables have turned, and he's going to be doing some damage to this tower up in the top lane, while Maokai is choosing to base and probably teleport back into lane. He does have that up. Actually, he's going to stick around. Never mind. He wants to stick around and go for some of those minions under the tower. Zed and Master Yi going at it in mid lane. Master Yi's ult Highlander being popped. He's going to try and get the kill. He does manage to finish it off. He Alpha Strikes to avoid a final auto attack that would have killed him there, and the Alpha Strike is enough damage to bring down the low health Zed and give him the kill in the one-on-one duel. And that is a kill going over to Master Yi, who is 2-1 at this point, to the enemy Zed's 2-1 as well. And they're actually going for very similar builds. Both of them have Bilgewater Cutlasses, and so they both seem to be going for Blades of the Ruined King. However, Master Yi has opted to build his Berserker's Greaves very quickly, going for that fully upgraded pair of boots very early into the game, whereas Zed has gone simply for a pair of brown boots and then gone into a Brutalizer, looking to get some early armor pen to really take advantage of the low armor build which the Master Yi has, and maybe perhaps even do some true damage if he has some armor pen in his runes and masteries. Warwick going for an early dragon here. He's finished off his Wriggle's Lantern, so he's able to solo out the dragon by himself. He goes down to about half health, but that's probably going. That's certainly going to be worth it for his team, putting his team up 2,000 in terms of gold. As we see Zed and Master Yi once again fighting with each other, they both go down to about half health before they both choose to back off. Neither one wanting to continue that duel, just in case the other one is able to get out more burst before they can. Neither one really sure that they can win the duel, and so they simply both back off. Graves dashing forward, but he doesn't have Zilean around, so he's not going to be able to really consider doing much more than an auto attack or two worth of poke. Nice hook there from the Thresh, going to be landing onto the Graves, and he flays him back under tower. The box comes out, so he gets slowed down again, but thankfully Zilean is nearby with his ulti. The Graves comes back up with about half of his health left, gets the speed boost from Zilean, and so that is the Zilean ulti down, and so is the Thresh's. Both supports trading their ultis there in that engage with the Thresh started by landing a nice hook. Very good death sentence coming out from the Thresh to pull the Graves back under the tower and force Zilean to use his ulti. Though to be fair, Zilean's ult is not that long of a cooldown, especially when he spams rewind. The death mark coming out from Zed here onto the Master Yi as Lee Sin shows up with a gank. He goes behind the Master Yi with a flash, and then Dragon's Rages him back. And so that is the Zed picking up a kill in mid lane, as up in top, Warwick is taking his time with that gank. I'm really not sure why he was just sitting in that bush the whole time. Maokai thought perhaps that a gank was incoming because his jungler was right nearby, and when he went in, Warwick decided that he liked the bush very much and wanted to keep sitting there. And now Graves is just deleted as Lee Sin, Zed, and Thresh all jump onto him at the same time. Lee Sin finalizing that kill and getting it for himself. And Zilean did not have his ulti up that time, and even if it was, I don't think it would have mattered. And so the Graves goes down in the bottom lane, putting him at 1-1. He's finished off his Blade of the Ruined King, which actually I think is a little bit of a strange build for a Graves to go with. I can certainly see the merit in it. Lots of attack speed means lots more dashes, since every auto attack does reset the cooldown of Quick Draw by a small bit. And so the more you attack, the more you can dash. So it makes for a more mobile Graves if you go for a heavy attack speed build. But most Graves like to build a lot of AD, since a lot of their the buckshot and collateral damage scale so very well with a heavy AD build. It allows him to do quite a lot of burst damage all at once, which is really the strength that Graves offers as an AD carry. And so generally people like to build on the strengths that their champions offer, like Vaynes that build attack speed, Master Yis that build attack speed. I'm just listing off examples of attack speed champions, but you get my drift where I'm going with that. However, the Graves is opting to go for a bit of a different build, more of a quick draw oriented build, and that is certainly not a bad thing. He could certainly do some great things with that. As the Zilean gets hooked by the Thresh, he does have his ulti to save his own life. Thresh going down to the Alpha Strike from Master Yi, who gets kicked under the tower by Lee Sin, goes down himself to Zed. Now Graves getting ulted on by the Zed as Warwick comes in to ult the Zed and hold him still with infinite duress. Graves does go down in the end, though, to Lee Sin, since Warwick can only really hold one person in place with that ulti, and now Renekton has roamed down out of the top lane, stuns up the Warwick, but Warwick is incredibly tanky, as we see Maokai has also roamed from top. He's going after the Kog'Maw under the tower, but the tower plus the damage from Zed and Kog'Maw might prove to be too much. He's gone down very low. The Zilean is now the focus. He has flash up, so he's able to get away with that speed buff after flashing away from Renekton. Renekton's still on the hunt, going after this tree here, but finally gives up as they chase all the way to the second turret in middle lane. Warwick now coming around from behind, but there's 5 members of blue team around to chase him away, and they might be able to get the kill here. Lee Sin lands the Sonic Wave, goes in with Resonating Strike, does not have enough energy, though, to slow him down with Tempest Cripple, and it looks like Warwick might actually be able to escape it because of the speed buff he gets from Blood Scent whenever low health enemies are nearby, and there's certainly enough low health enemies on blue team, so Warwick does manage to escape, and a turret goes down to minions in the bottom lane for purple team, putting a turret on the map for them in the 2-1 turret game so far, 2 being blue team and 1 being purple. While I have a moment here after that extended and insane team fight, I would like to simply mention the gold totals up at the top. Blue team is ahead by 500 gold, but only about 500. Despite all of these various team fights and events that have happened all across the map, there is still a very close game going on right now. Lee Sin landing the Q onto Master Yi, but not choosing to go in on that, as Purple Team looks to get a second turret for themselves on the map, this time up in top lane, and they're going to even out the turret score at 2-2, and bring the gold score in their favor by a few hundred gold, putting it at 27.2k to 27.1k. Warwick getting hooked over the wall, but that's not really going to matter as Renekton is quite low and Maokai's diving underneath the tower. Maokai tanking a few tower hits, goes very low. The death mark coming out from Zed is going to be chasing onto him. The Zilean ulti is enough to save his life, though, as that final shuriken comes out from Zed to try and kill him. However, Zilean brings him back to life. Warwick getting a double kill onto Renekton and Thresh, as down in bottom lane we see Kog'Maw being chased by the ulting Master Yi. He gets killed fairly easily. Master Yi is very, very good at chasing down and taking out immobile, squishy AD carries like Kog'Maw. And that is Master Yi picking up a kill for himself down in bottom lane as Warwick gets a double kill in top. Overall, a 3-for-1 trade with purple team losing the 1 and blue team losing the 3, evening out the kill score at 8-8. We see Lee Sin taking the blue buff, while Zed is roaming down to bottom lane to stop this Master Yi from split pushing. He's already got the inner turret in bottom lane down to about half health. But he's run out of minions at this point, and so he's not going to keep going after that, choosing instead to try and counter-jungle the enemy team a little bit, going after that golem camp. He is sat next to a ward, though, so he's going to get interrupted in his base by a shuriken from Zed. Nice hook from Thresh at max range, landing onto him. He goes in and throws out the lantern for Zed to follow up, flays him back. 2 exhausts coming out, 1 from each team, as Master Yi did take exhaust this game. Zilean showing up, but he doesn't have his ult up to save the Master Yi's life. However, now it's a 3-on-2 situation as multiple members of Purple Team were around to respond to the Master Yi, who has at this point died, by the way. I forgot to mention that earlier, but the Master Yi did go down in that chase with some very nice hooks and lanterns from the Thresh, as now Dragon is back up, and Warwick is going to be taking that with a few members of his team nearby. However, this time he's not alone, as Lee Sin and Thresh are both over the wall, and Zed and Kog'Maw are off to the side. Teleport coming in from Renekton. Lee Sin going to be going in and finishing off the Dragon for himself while they scare off Purple Team. Thresh flaying back the Warwick. Warwick might be in trouble here. He gets slowed by the Shadow from Zed, and can he escape? No, the Blade of the Ruined King from Zed gonna slow him down enough to catch up to him, and Zilean ulti is not going to be enough to save his life. He revives with about a third of his health left and then immediately goes down again. As now the Maokai is being chased out by the enemy team. Renekton going under the tower and tanking that with his ulti running. Zed able to finish off that kill, and now it looks like blue team want to get another turret on the map for themselves, put them at 3 and 2, and they're certainly going to be able to do that. This is the second turret from middle lane going down for purple team, and blue team now has a 4,000 gold advantage. Just like that, with a 4-kill lead and a 1-turret lead, and they're going for an inhibitor turret in the mid lane, actually. Purple team not having enough members up to stop them here. The Maokai and Warwick are both still dead, the Warwick having just respawned, actually. Perhaps they can... No, I don't think they can stop them from getting this inhibitor. So that's an inhibitor at 21.5 minutes here for blue team. This game that was even just a few minutes ago suddenly swinging heavily in blue team's favor, as now they're being chased out, though. The Warwick has respawned, and the Lantern... Oh god, the Lantern getting pulled just at the right moment to stop Infinite Duress from holding Lee Sin in a terrible position, so Lee Sin's life is saved by a very, very timely Lantern from the Thresh. Renekton might not be so lucky, though. Actually, he is. Renekton is very tanky. He manages to escape. He has that Spirit Visage as well as a Warden's Mail to help him tank up the enemy team, so he goes down very slowly and does not actually go down at all. And that is no one dying from blue team. They get an inhibitor, they get 2 more towers, and they get a 4-kill lead, which puts them about 4,000 gold up on the map, and they have super minions flowing down the middle lane. This is really turned in favor of blue team this game. Whew, while I have a moment here, I'd like to look at some of the builds, if I may. The Zilean has opted for a Boots of Mobility build. He's going to be very quick. His speed buff allows for a 55% speed buff for, I believe it's 3 or 4 seconds. I used to know this back when I made that video about Zilean, but it's since fallen out of my memory. However, it's very quick. Very long amount of time very quick, and so with Boots 5 active and with his speed buff running, he's going to be much faster than anyone else on the map. It's just a matter of being able to make good use of that speed to get into advantageous situations and to save his teammates with his ulti, since Zilean later game really just becomes a sort of ult bot and a little bit of poke as a Zilean support. He does fall off later on into the game. He's much better in the laning phase, though a free Guardian Angel is certainly nothing to be laughed at. Ward being cleared out by Maokai there as Purple Team is battling these super minions, very early super minions in this game, only at 23 minutes in, and so it's very difficult for them to bring down a super minion. It takes 3 members just to take one out at a respectable rate. And both teams just returning to their jungles, going to be farming those up. Blue team has a pink ward on Baron, so Purple team can't see it. However, they do have some wards nearby, so they know that blue team is not going for that early Baron here. And blue team wandering up towards the enemy bot lane. Maybe want to go for a turret push here. There is an outer turret available in bot lane. Warwick does manage to back before he's discovered by the enemy team, which is fortuitous for him since he was in a fairly bad situation and could have certainly been killed fairly quickly if he hadn't been able to back there. Nice Q landing from Lee Sin onto the Master Yi. He's forced to pop Highlander to be able to escape from that slow off of Tempest Cripple. And now this bottom second turret is under fire by the blue team. Kog'Maw landing some heavy auto attacks onto that, doing a bunch of damage. Warwick's a little bit out of position here. He's leaping onto the Zed to try and save his own life. However, he's going down pretty quickly. Zed turning after he gets out of the infinite duress to ult onto the Master Yi with the help of Lee Sin. The Master Yi goes down very quickly. Warwick now going to finally go down to the Lee Sin. And that is a 2-for-0 kill lead so far for blue team. Maokai on low health as well as Graves gets hit by a very nice hook from the Thresh. He does have the Zilean ulti to revive for a short while. He gets revived with about half of his health left. Very nice Q landing from the Lee Sin, who lands himself a triple kill there. He's going to go down to this Zilean bomb right after and give the shutdown gold over to Zilean with that fadeaway kill, running away from the lane there. However, that's certainly worth it. A triple kill to give up 1 kill. Not a problem. And one other member of Purple Team went down too for a 4-to-1 exchange, as now Blue Team is pushing onto this inhibitor turret, and that is the surrender coming out from Purple Team. One of their Nexus turrets had already fallen, so surrender for Purple Team, victory for Blue. GG, thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys. If you want your replay featured on the channel, you can check the description and find out how to do that down there. You should all go check out LOL How To. It's the YouTube channel of the person who sent me in this replay. His name is BOSS Achilles, or Achilles, depending on your pronunciation of the word. I'll just have it on the screen right now so you can see the spelling. And yeah, he's really good at what he does. Makes some funny videos, some good montages. You should check him out. It's worth your time. Anyways, I'll see you tomorrow.